Number 10. Beyoncé. Since the harassment lawsuit was filed against her, the internet has completely turned on its head. Even Beyoncé seems to have reacted to the accusations made against Lizzo. On Tuesday night, she recently took to the stage at Gillette Stadium in Massachusetts, which was the latest stop on her Renaissance tour. While performing Break My Soul, fans noticed that she deliberately left out Lizzo's name. In the original version of the song, the lyrics go Rosetta Tharpe, Santa Gold, Vogue, Bessie Smith, Nina Simone, Betty Davis, Solange Knowles, Badu, Lizzo, Kelly Rolls. But instead of saying Lizzo's name, she replaced the lyrics with Badu, Badu, Badu. And fans interpreted this moment in two ways. Some saw it as Beyoncé avoiding a reference to Lizzo with the lawsuit controversy going on, while others pointed out the fact that she also took off Kelly Rowland's name from the song, so it most likely wasn't down to the events of the last few days. But if she really is giving her the cold shoulder, then that would be a little crazy, considering that Lizzo has long declared her adoration for Beyoncé, like when she honored her during her own acceptance speech at the 2023 Grammy Awards. But it's possible that the tide is now turning for good. Number 9. Sophia Nali Allison. The Oscar-winning filmmaker weighed in on the situation, stating that she doesn't usually do so but felt compelled to. She made a post on social media saying that she'd quit her role as a director of a Lizzo documentary back in 2019 after only 2 weeks, because she said she was treated with such disrespect by her. She wrote, "I usually don't comment on anything pop culture related, but in 2019 I traveled a bit with Lizzo to be the director of her documentary. I walked away after 2 weeks. I was treated with such disrespect by her. I witnessed how arrogant and unkind she is. I was not protected and I was thrown into a bad situation with little support. My spirit said to run as fast as you effing can, and I'm so grateful I trusted my gut. I felt gaslit and I was deeply hurt, but I've healed." She went on to say that reading the reports made her realize how dangerous of a situation it was, and that Lizzo completely misused her power, which is something that happens far too often. Allison ended the post by saying that she supports the dancers who brought the original lawsuit against her. Soon after this allegation came out, it gave way for several others to step forward and share their own experience working with Lizzo. Number 8. Ariana Davis. The dancer at the center of the lawsuit claimed that Lizzo pressured her to touch a nude performer in Amsterdam during a group visit to a strip club after a performance in the city earlier this year. At the club, Lizzo allegedly began inviting several cast members to take turns touching the nude performers and began pressuring Ariana to touch the breasts of one of the nude women. Apparently, she declined, and then Lizzo led a chant encouraging her to do it. When she declined 3 more times, the chant grew louder and more strident, demanding that she touch her even though she was clearly uncomfortable at that moment. Afterward, Lizzo allegedly pressured a member of security to get on stage and started yelling at them to take off their clothes. Ariana also accused her of calling attention to her weight after a performance at South by Southwest Music Festival. Apparently, she told her that she seems less committed to her role, which is a comment that she took as thinly veiled concern about her weight. At one point, Lizzo had told the group that they would have to audition again in what was described as an excruciating 12-hour rehearsal, and if she wasn't satisfied, the dancers would be fired and then sent home. During the rehearsal, Ariana claimed that she was so fearful she'd lose her job if she even went to the bathroom that she ended up soiling her pants. So if that's not a toxic workplace, I don't know what is. Number 7. Crystal Williams. Along with Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams joined the dance team after competing on Lizzo's show called Watch Out for the Big Girls. After graduating from Sam Houston State University in 2020, Crystal sent an online submission to Lizzo's casting call. She was then cast and eventually appeared on the competition series, though her time on the show was brief. She dropped out early after immediately being selected by Lizzo as one of her backup dancers. According to the lawsuit, Crystal lost her job on April the 26th when Lizzo's tour manager fired her in a hotel lobby. This was after she spoke up at a meeting where she challenged a claim from Lizzo that the dancers were drinking before performances. Apparently, the manager said that it was all down to budget cuts, even though no one else was actually fired at this point. The lawyer for all 3 dancers, Ron Zambrano, released a statement saying the stunning nature of how Lizzo and her management team treated their performers seems to go against everything Lizzo stands for publicly, while privately she weight shames her dancers and demeans them in ways that are not only illegal but absolutely demoralizing. Number 6. Noel Rodriguez. Noel was hired as one of Lizzo's dancers in 2021 after she performed in the music video for Rumors, but she ended up resigning in early 2023 right after Crystal Williams was fired. Unlike the other 2 dancers, Noel never went on Watch Out for the Big Girls. Before she worked with Lizzo, she was a background dancer in season 1 of Euphoria. She performed at last year's Oscars and danced with Beyoncé at Coachella. She's even performed with Sam Smith on the Jingle Ball tour and Janet Jackson at the Billboard Music Awards. So she had quite the resume even before coming on board with Lizzo's Lizzo's dance team. According to the lawsuit, Noel confronted her shortly after Crystal was fired, and after a contentious meeting where she was allegedly berating Ariana Davis. Noel claims that she told Lizzo that she felt disrespected and then resigned from the tour. She then said that Lizzo approached her and started cracking her knuckles and balling her fists as though she wanted to fight. Their lawyer said they were really freaked out that last day when Lizzo started yelling, screaming and getting in people's faces, and the dancers were not just the plaintiffs. The other dancers were crying. It was just so intense. Number 5, Courtney Hollingquest. The former dancer who worked with Lizzo spoke out on her Instagram stories about her own experience with the singer. She explained that while she's not a part of the lawsuit, she does agree with all the things that Lizzo is accused of. In her own words, she said, "This was very much my experience in my time there. Big shout out to the dancers who had the courage to bring this to light." And this mistreatment seems to be a common theme among her backup dancers. One of the main plaintiffs behind the lawsuit, Ariana Davis, claimed that she was fired in April for recording one of the team meetings because she said that she suffered from an eye condition that sometimes left her disorientated in stressful situations. So the recording would help her catch up with what was going on. Days later, Lizzo held an emergency meeting and had security employees confiscate all the dancers' phones. She allegedly became furious and started yelling obscenities at the group, stating that she was going to go around the room, person by person, until someone told her who made the recording. Ariana finally owned up to it and said that she wanted to have a copy of the performance notes. She insisted that she didn't mean any harm by it and that she would go and delete the video, to which Lizzo allegedly responded by saying, "There is nothing you can say to make me believe you." She then fired her on the spot after berating her. Number 4, Quinn Wilson. Lizzo's former creative director agreed with Courtney Hollingquest's statement. She took to social media and wrote, "I haven't been a part of that world for 3 years, for a reason. I very much applaud the dancers' courage to bring this to light, and I grieve parts of my own experience. I'd appreciate space to understand my feelings." So basically at this point, fans were really starting to notice just how many of Lizzo's former colleagues had something negative to say about working with her. What's even more is that the dancers claim that their team captain, Charlene Quigley, made some inappropriate sexual comments while chastising members of the team who had premarital sex. They believe that Lizzo was aware of these complaints against Charlene, but she chose to ignore them. They specifically accused Charlene of proselytizing to other performers and deriding those who had premarital sex. It was also said that she publicly discussed the virginity of one of the plaintiffs, even when it was made very clear to her that they were uncomfortable with it. So clearly these accusations are extremely serious, and whether or not Lizzo knew about what was going on with her team captain is still unclear. Number 3, Grimes. The musician seemed to be on the fence about the allegations against Lizzo, though she did give her honest take on the situation. While Grimes is willing to admit some bad things might have happened behind the scenes on Lizzo's tour, she compared it to her own experience on tour and said that she had dancers who were mistreated on her watch in ways that she didn't actually find out about until later. She went on to say, "But loyalty matters to me. Lizzo was kind to me and others for a decade before she was cool, and she checked in on me when no one cared. I've only ever seen exemplary behavior from her, especially when everyone was hating on me and she was on top of the world. There was no reason for her to check in besides to be a good person. Just my 2 cents. To those arguing that Lizzo was only nice to Grimes because she had some kind of power in the music industry, she was quick to point out that Lizzo was nice to her before she met Elon. She said this was around 2012, before anyone cared about either of them. Apparently she was even friendly with her when she was cancelled, which is probably why she wants to return the kindness. Number 2, online backlash. The reaction to this lawsuit has been absolutely chaotic. Even Lizzo's most devoted fans seem to be divided over who to believe. But the reason these allegations are getting so much attention is because they directly contradict the singer's brand of self-acceptance, inclusivity, and body positivity. Her personal brand radiates unbridled joy and unapologetic self-confidence. As a vocal supporter of fat-positive language, Lizzo has faced significant criticism and hostility online. So the revelation that she could have weight-shamed her dancers sent shockwaves through fans and media circles, because it really shows a powerful disconnect between her public persona and the behind-the-scenes music industry culture. There was also a very clear power imbalance happening because the dancers felt that they had to comply with requests that made them uncomfortable or they would risk losing their jobs, like the fact that they had to go to the strip club even though they clearly didn't want to. But there have also been some very interesting conversations happening since this news came out. One person tweeted, "Lizzo is a terrible person, but let's be honest, men don't even care about her victims. Instead, they just wanted a reason to openly be fatphobic to women, and this TikTok with more than 600,000 likes proves it, along with viral fatphobic tweets since the incident." And coming in at number 1, Lizzo's reaction. The singer finally responded to the lawsuit against her in a statement of her own. She dismissed the harassment claims as unbelievable and outrageous, and said that they are completely untrue. Lizzo insisted that her accusers had previously been warned about their inappropriate and unprofessional conduct. In a statement posted on Instagram, she wrote, "These last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually I try not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound, and too outrageous to not be addressed." She called the allegations sensationalized stories that are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. Lizzo went on to say, "As an artist, I have always been very passionate about what I do. I take my music and my performances seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. With passion comes hard work and high standards. Sometimes I have to make hard decisions, but it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they haven't been valued as an important part of the team."
Coming in at number 10, the first celebrity will be Martin Short. Now, Martin Short, who was interviewed alongside whoever, isn't a recent call-out. In fact, not many celebrities have negative things to say about Fallon currently amidst all the controversy. Rather, when they have had things to say to the man, they all tend to do it in the moment, as will be evident by many of the circumstances on this list. However, following the reports that Fallon allegedly created an ugly environment behind the scenes on The Tonight Show, a resurfaced clip of Martin Short calling him out for being fake started making the rounds on Twitter. And I gotta say, Martin went in, telling Jimmy, "This is the great show on television because there is no host in late night that pretends to care the way that you do." While Jimmy awkwardly laughs and thanks him, Martin continues to say, "I mean, no one captures phoniness the way you do. It's a gift." Steve Martin decided to chip in since he was the other guy at the interview, adding, "Yeah, when I'm at home watching the show, which is rare, I think for somebody who does a certain substance, your teeth look great." And because the two hadn't dug Jimmy enough, Short adds in the finishing touch of, "You prove that tall, handsome white men can make it in show business." You may be wondering, did Fallon prompt this roast in any way? Actually, no. The interview with the two men only makes it 45 seconds in before they start going off on him, which is why Jimmy kinda awkwardly sits there and takes it. Number 9 will be Tina Fey. Kind of. Again, she's not really calling him out, but similar to the Martin clip, an excerpt of her 2011 memoir Bossy Pants is going viral thanks to New Yorker editor Aaron Overby, who tweeted it alongside a caption that Fey had Fallon dead to rights. In what's described as one in a series of love letters to her best friend Amy Poehler in the book, Tina describes a situation for early in Amy's career on SNL, which started in early September of 2001. Amy and a team of writers were doing a read-through of an upcoming bit, shooting off ideas, and Amy, as Tina describes, was doing some nonsense with Seth Meyers and did something vulgar as a joke that was dirty, loud, and unladylike. Fallon, who as Faye mentioned was the star of the show at the time, took offense to it. Apparently trying to lighten up how he delivered his criticism, he decided to deliver it in a faux squeamish voice saying, "Stop that, it's not cute, I don't like it," some shit like that. Amy apparently picked up on the fact he was actually bothered under his attempt to be funny about the complaint, and Tina described that she stopped, went black in the eyes for a second, and responded, "I don't care if you like it." Fallon was then startled while Poehler went right back to enjoying a ridiculous bit. However, while this circulates, we should remember what isn't included in the viral tweet, that Tina openly stated Jimmy and Amy are very good friends and there was never any real beef between them. Here's a classic, however. Number 8 is Dakota Johnson. Hilarious. While Dakota Johnson has most notably appeared in 50 Shades of Grey and that's about it, she is famous for firing back without fear at reality TV hosts and interviewers alike. She famously cut off Ellen, which pretty much broke the internet, but she also had an iconic interaction with Jimmy Fallon before that, when he kept interrupting her on The Tonight Show. Fallon has a bad habit of asking celebrities for stories, but then asking too many interruptive or distracting questions as they tell them, and sometimes the celebrity doesn't even get to finish the tale before Jimmy's questions push them into another. Dakota was trying to talk about how she's being sprayed by a skunk for the 6th time, which is weird as hell. I want to know what she's doing to skunks to make them hate her. But then Jimmy interrupts her for a final time, and in turn she interrupted him by asking, "Aren't you supposed to let people talk on this show?" Jimmy took a second to laugh and looked kind of incredulous and a tad annoyed, responding, "If they know what they're talking about, yes! What the hell are you talking about?" While both he and Dakota laughed. Both parties brushed off the experience pretty well, despite how much trolling online it received, becoming a feature of memes and tweets globally. Number 7 is Blake Shelton, or as I call him, Gwen Stefani's husband. All I know about him is he makes country music, and I guess that's something Jimmy Fallon and I have in common because it seems when it comes time to interview Shelton, Fallon kind of falls flat on how to approach him or what to ask. laughs. When Blake Shelton appeared on the show in 2017, he was not the most receptive to Fallon's humor. Jimmy Fallon jokingly made fun of Blake Shelton's southern accent and tossed in a few southern stereotype jabs in the mix. Nothing harsh or biased per se, but it definitely rubbed the country singer the wrong way. Instead of laughing along with the humor, Shelton was visibly annoyed. Kind of funny that the dude whose whole brand in music is built upon being southern can't take a good ribbon about it. In fact, Shelton didn't even laugh at Jimmy Fallon's jokes much. Finally, Jimmy Fallon started interviewing Blake Shelton properly, and Shelton replied in a dry, monotone voice, "Thank God," causing an awkward moment where even the live audience didn't know if they should laugh or acknowledge the quip. Their senses of humor just don't mesh. Number 6 is Rami Malek. So, the childhood crush of every nerdy, history-obsessed kid that watched Night at the Museum like a religion. Now, he's all grown up and dominating the screens in complicated dramas such as Mr. Robot or unreal biopics such as Bohemian Rhapsody. But let's not forget another time Rami dominated our screens. Rather, the phone ones. Tweets and memes hit the internet hard after a hilarious and awkward interaction occurred during the late night show interview between Fallon and Malek. Jimmy was expressing his adoration for the recent Rhapsody biopic and elatedly rambled to Rami that if I had your email or your phone number, I would have called you like a gazillion times, like, dude, you were unbelievable. But Rami is kind of awkwardly leaned back in his chair and does like the darting gaze, sort of like awkwardly looking at Fallon, then the audience, then back at Fallon, and uncomfortably mentions, "You have my email and phone number." There's an uncomfortable beat in which Fallon, with his usual water off a duck's back routine, responds with, "That's true, I just decided not to call you, ha 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 ha," before awkwardly moving on. Number 5 is Shawn Mendes. The sassy Canadian singer was 18 when he first pulled what would sort of become like a short-term stunt of his whenever he was around Jimmy Fallon, which is telling the TV host that he's old. And not in any particular funny haha way, just kind of in an awkward fall flat kind of way. It started in 2016 when Mendes was gearing up to do a performance on the show. Jimmy messes up and gives him a late cue to start singing, leading to Mendes telling Jimmy his timing is all wrong and this was all on you, while the two awkwardly laugh off the fail. As Jimmy's trying to continue, however, Mendes tosses in and "I told you I'm just not as old as you," eliciting laughs, woes, and ohs from the audience. Fallon himself laughs at the joke, especially when the band follows it with a or rim shot, and Jimmy manages to work with that first insult, replying, "Son, don't talk back to your father like that, don't talk back to your dad like that, go to your room right now." Mendes, however, doesn't take the cue to kind of back off and keep doing their actual bit that's planned, and awkwardly keeps rolling with his roast of the host. It doesn't mean "you don't look old, you're fine, you just are old, I'm just very young." It seemed to be the last of it, but only a few minutes later when Fallon comments, "That is a hit song right there," in regards to Mendes singing of a tweet, he abruptly tells Fallon, again, no context, "You sound like my grandfather," which goes ignored and uncomfortable by the audience and Fallon. Number 4, John Oliver. Host versus host. There's never gonna be a winner. Oh, well, maybe there is, but who's to say? While interviewing John Oliver on the late night show, Fallon and he have one of their many awkward confrontations, wherein Fallon had been waxing poetic to Oliver, saying, "You know, last week tonight," which I still think is the best title of any show ever. Oliver, without missing a beat, interrupts and says, "The best title? Wow, that sounds like damning me with fake praise, Jimmy. I really love the title." It goes downhill once that's finished. I love how John Oliver's voice is so distinct, even as someone who doesn't watch him, I can literally hear him saying those words in my brain. It's hilarious, however, to see Jimmy pressured to tell the truth when he always plays it safe. This is one of many instances where Oliver has put Jimmy in this situation, such as the video call interview during COVID with Jimmy, wherein he kept asking the Alexa inappropriate questions for a public video, forcing Fallon to have to disable it, and essentially not give Amazon a free commercial of him and the other late night host. Number 3 is Roger Waters. For those who don't know but love to wear the t-shirts, Roger Waters is one of the Pink Floyd members, of whom Jimmy Fallon is a massive fan. Naturally, it made for an exciting opportunity to interview Roberts. However, Jimmy inevitably steered the topic towards former Syd Barrett, who left the band struggling with schizophrenia and mental wellness. This immediately triggered an emotional reaction from Waters, who took on a very serious tone when discussing Syd that implied no nonsense was to be made. However, Jimmy doesn't seem to pick up on the vibe, and he goes on to bring up a story where Barrett was in an episode and interrupted a Pink Floyd recording. Fallon chose to describe Syd insensitively, saying a bald man with a toothbrush in his mouth. Waters clears up that story, making sure to tell Fallon that his friend being consumed by addiction and mental illness wasn't a funny story, and that the entire situation was very sad. Number 2 is Jerry Seinfeld. I chose to put Seinfeld in here due to his vocal vocal defense of Jimmy Fallon in the last few days, but also his acknowledgement that he defended others from him. So, for those who haven't read it yet, in the interviews recently given by current and former staffers of Jimmy Fallon, one recalled a story in which Seinfeld, the interviewee of the night, had seen Fallon being hard on one of his workers, scolding them for flubbing a simple task while they filmed. The anonymous whistleblowers claimed Seinfeld right then and there ordered Fallon to apologize to the worker and that Fallon supposedly complied. Go Jerry Seinfeld, we love to see it. The anonymous former employee said that in interview, it was very awkward and Jerry was like, you should apologize to him, almost trying to make it a joke. It was one of the strangest moments ever and so many people were there, so it's kind of hard to forget. Rolling Stone claims Seinfeld's reps did not respond to multiple requests to comment before publishing the article, but once the story was published, Seinfeld sent them the following statement. This is so stupid. I remember this moment quite well. I teased Jimmy about a flub and we all had a fun laugh about how rarely Jimmy is thrown off. It was not uncomfortable at all. Jimmy and I still occasionally recall it and laugh. Idiotic twisting of events. A source with knowledge of The Tonight Show also told the Post on Thursday that the Rolling Stones version of the Seinfeld story is inaccurate, which is now starting to cast some light on the debatable reality of these accusations. Number 1 is Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin is famous for a multitude of reasons, from his late brother River Phoenix to his chaotic performances in films such as Her and Joker. But Joaquin also pulled a move on the late night show that made people with complicated names everywhere glow a little inside. When Jimmy Fallon tried to give Joaquin Phoenix a nickname, he wasn't having it. Fallon, with very little context, tells Joaquin, I call you Wa. Then Joaquin was like, why? Fallon laughs and says, well, your name's Joaquin, and I feel like that's too long for me. Joaquin, looking extremely unimpressed, replied without hesitation that you can handle it. I feel like you can handle it. You do a monologue every night. Dude, let me say thank you, Joaquin, on behalf of myself and everyone out there with a unique or foreign name. It gets very old and very offensive when people don't try to pronounce it, would rather just assign you a nickname for their own comfort and convenience. People often describe the entirety of this interview, as well as the memory game instilled at the beginning, as vague evidence towards Joaquin disliking Fallon as a whole, especially after this point in the interview where he remains cold, aloof, and distant with the man.
For number 10, we have the comedian London Hughes. London took it to X, formerly known as Twitter, to share how she always knew to keep a distance from Brand, who she claims was a self-confessed addict when it came to women and seeking intimacy. She stated, I was newly signed with Russell's agent at the height of his career. I was a huge fan of the man, so excited to meet him. But my first day at the agency, I was told unprovoked that I shouldn't sleep with him under any circumstances as he likes to pursue women, have intercourse with them. She continued by saying, but as soon as he had intercourse with them, they'd make him feel sick and he didn't want to be around them anymore, so he would have them fired or dropped from the agency. It had happened several times in the past. I was 22 at the time, did what I was told, and completely avoided him. This is not some cheeky misunderstood man. I am not shocked by the documentary at all. I believe everything those brave women said. London's statements proved there was a power imbalance when it came to other women and Brand. These girls were probably scared they would lose their job if they came forward, or worried no one would believe them. At number 9, we have the crew at Big Brother. Russell was actually representing Big Brother's Big Mouth on Channel 4, ironically, from 2004 to 2006. Well, now the crew members who worked alongside Brand have come forward to discuss his behavior on set. These employees were working for the production firm Endemol while this was occurring. Well, now these ex-employees have come forward to actually call Russell Brand a pimp. Brand would allegedly ask the showrunners to go to the audience members he found attractive and ask for their information in order to meet up with them afterwards. There is not only a power imbalance when it comes to Russell and the staff, but also the audience, which makes this whole situation even trickier. The ex-staff member stated, we all knew he was a predator. There is no denying that he was involved in a lot of complicated sexual situations. Another staff member described the workplace environment as a free-for-all due to everyone being culpable, as they all knew how he was like. Another stated, I distinctly remember getting phone calls from women in tears the next day saying they'd met up with Russell. It was like we were taking lambs into slaughter. We were basically acting like pimps to Russell Brand's needs. Another showrunner, who was 24 at the time, claimed Russell flashed her in the dressing room. This whole situation, if true, is devastating, as I'm sure the staff members felt compliant as he was such a well-known public figure and their jobs were probably at risk. In our 8th spot, we have Daniel Sloss. This comedian, actor, and writer was apparently one of the first to publicly speak out against him. Hundreds of sources who have worked with Brand, including other comedians and celebrities, were asked to speak speak up about Brand for the documentary, but Sloss was the only one who was willing to speak on record. He reveals how several women comedians were in a WhatsApp group chat together where they would warn each other about Brand. Sloss stated, "I know for many years women have been warning each other about Russell." He even further added, "There were many stories. It wasn't just coming from one person or one group of people, it was different incidents over different years and of varying degrees of severity. He was a big name, big household name. If you were a comedian and got a gig with him, you'd be gigging with a celebrity. I'm stood in bars with agents, promoters, channel commissioners, and I'm hearing these allegations and rumors with Russell in the same room. And later on, he would be on a movie or a television show, he would be hosting something. He was still being employed." If this is all true, it seems like those in the industry itself seem to have more insight on Brand while he was able to keep his image squeaky clean for the public. We have the director of the Hijack series, Jim Field Smith. Although he hasn't directly identified who he's talking about, many believe it is about Brand himself because he tweeted a series of tweets after the allegations. He refers to this mystery A-list celebrity as Actor X, and he claims this actor has powerful people working alongside him in order to protect their career. Smith actually said he turned down working with this person because of the claims surrounding their behavior. He states, "I was once dissuaded from hiring Actor X because other actors I was meeting for other roles had heard X might be attached to the project and had said unequivocally they would not work on the project in those circumstances." He further added, "There were no criminal allegations against X, but rather a pattern of behavior that several people had either noticed or been personally subjected to." When I asked these people why this wasn't common knowledge, they said that speaking up didn't seem like it would make a difference. He continued to say, "This was really troubling. After not much deliberation, the casting director and I decided not only to cease negotiations with X, but also, more importantly, to be very open and honest about why we were doing so." If Smith is referring to Brand, it means they have addressed these claims to him, which is troubling because it seems like he has a repeated pattern as many feared him behind the scenes. At number 6, we have the anonymous former model. This ex-model, although anonymous, has shared her alleged experience she had with Brand as she spoke with The Sun. She met him back in a bar in 2005 located in Primrose Hill, and she claims to have told him to leave her alone, but he proceeded to follow her onto the streets as she says he grew increasingly creepy. While walking through the streets of London, Brand was following her while she was walking alone. She shared how it felt like a lifetime. Russell then apparently shouted at her and stated, "Let's just right here." She then further added, "I felt like he was hunting me down. It wasn't flirty or fun. The word predator is absolutely spot on. He was dead set on his goal. His intention was to have sex with someone. Anyone." That is extremely frightening, and honestly, some of the words she used to describe Brand has also been used by multiple women. For our number 5 spot, we have Dannii Minogue. This Australian singer and TV personality had an interview back in 2006 before any of these current SA allegations surfaced. She first met Brand when she was set to appear on his show to promote the release of her album. However, she was left with an awful experience. When interviewing with The Mirror, she states, "He is completely crazy and a bit of a vile predator. I certainly don't think he has cured his addiction, that's for sure. He wouldn't take no for an answer." The way Dannii described Brand sounds a lot like how other women described him, with words like predator being a reoccurring way to describe him. A lot of people are resurfacing this interview, especially because of the recent claims and because Dannii said all of this about him before anything about Brand was made public. And for number 4, we have Sean Locke. This comedian and actor had a resurfaced video that has recently been shared after the SA allegations. Back in 2013, Locke stated, "Probably the reason I hate him so much is because I'm a dad, and I've got this fear that my daughter will bring someone like that home." This is a huge red flag when it comes to Brand's behavior, as it seems many people have the same stigma and opinions on him, and especially when it comes to Brand's treatment towards women. Locke actually then proceeds to do an imitation of Brand and says, "Such a pleasure to be your charming abode," while waving his arm in the air. It's clear Locke had his opinions about Brand before sadly passing away in 2021. In our 3rd spot, we have Adam Rowe. This stand-up comedian wrote a thread on X describing his knowledge and experiences with Brand. He did end up taking down this tweet, however, the screenshots are posted all over Reddit. He stated, "Russell Brand's allegations far outdate his new anti-mainstream media shtick. We've all known for years but have been threatened with legal action, and he has a super injunction. Dispatches must have enough to surpass it. When I say we've, I mean the comedy industry. It is clear from our list so far, many comedians themselves are speaking out against Brand, as I'm sure many of them worked pretty close alongside him, as they are in the same industry. Adam also believes Brand is attempting to pull off the victim card, as he wants people to believe the mainstream media has gone after him. In fact, he described it as quote-unquote reverse engineered, as he believes he's known for a long time and has been preparing for this moment and spent his recent years putting up an anti-mainstream media persona. At number 2, we have comedian Sam Avery. He actually took it to X, formerly known as Twitter, to share his opinions on the ongoing essay allegations against Brand. He wrote, "People talking about Russell Brand like he's the only person to ever question the establishment, big pharma, etc. Nah mate, he's just the one with good cheekbones who uses long words that make you feel intelligent. The dude's less authentic than AstroTurf." Sam made it pretty clear where he stands with Brand, as he has now publicly said in the statement about why he doesn't like Brand and suggests why people are still supporting him amid the essay allegations. In our first spot, we have Katy Perry. Of course she would be on this list, as she was once married to Brand back in 2010, but Brand actually filed for divorce 14 months later through a text message. It actually gets worse, as he sent this text message right before Katy was set to perform, and this moment was captured on camera. You're able to view this footage through the documentary called Katy Perry Part of Me, as we see Katy getting emotional as she gets the news, but quickly has to put on a smile as she hits the stage. Well, this singer had an interview with Vogue back in 2013 about her relationship with Brand and said, "He's a very smart man, a magical man, and I was in love with him when I married him. At first when I met him, he wanted an equal, and I think a lot of times strong men do want an equal, but then they get that equal and they're like, I can't handle the equalness. He didn't like the atmosphere of me being the boss on tour, so that was really hurtful, and it was very controlling, which was upsetting." She then added, "Let's just say I haven't heard from him since he texted me saying he was divorcing me." Katy has also discussed how she felt about the divorce and stated, "I felt a lot of responsibility for it ending, but then I found out the real truth, which I can't necessarily disclose because I keep it locked in my safe for a rainy day." It's clear the two weren't right for each other, as it seems Katy has gone through an emotional roller coaster while in a relationship with Brand and even after. Although she hasn't commented on the current situation, it's clear the relationship dynamic these two had was harmful and damaging towards Katy.
If there's one person on this big blue planet who's earned the right to sport a Jada-free membership card, it's none other than her estranged hubby, Will Smith. Let's face it, after 7 years of stealthily living the solo life while still wearing a ring, he's probably got a few pent-up Jada-isms that have him walking on eggshells. This man's life has been a roller coaster of public humiliation, a carnival ride that swings both ways thanks to their mutual shenanigans. And now, she's been giving us all the hot goss on what really went down behind the curtains of the Smith household. Turns out they were not only separated, but Jada was penning love letters to none other than the late rap legend Tupac Shakur. Jada's book has only been out for about a month, and he's already got stress lines for days. It's safe to say the men in black are on red alert, and that once sunny disposition is turning a bit cloudy. Will's now the proud owner of a Jada grudge, and let's just say his feelings for her are starting to look a little independence dimmed. It's not just Will, however, as his son Jaden has also joined in on the fun. One thing that absolutely did not make the world a better place was the revelation that Jaden Smith moonlights as an amateur shaman and introduced his mom to the wonders of hallucinogenic tea. In her grand reveal promoting her tell-all book, she spilled the herbal tea beans, claiming that her son Jaden swooped in as the psychedelic superhero during a particularly dim chapter in her life. Now, it's not like Jaden was holding a daily spiritual summit, but he'd read about the potential mind-bending benefits of this brew and suggested they take a wild ride on the magic tea train. Apparently, it worked wonders, and amazingly, all her gloomy thoughts disappeared. Well, the whole affair had Jaden, along with his sister, performing a comedic two-person begging act, urging their mother to hit the brakes on the tell-all express. After all, Jaden didn't exactly set out to become the poster child for herbal enlightenment, especially when the magic potion isn't the most legal thing in the United States. Jaden has every right to plead for a little privacy here. I mean, the dude has been thrust into the spotlight since before he was washing windows for Mr. Miyagi. To finish off the Smith trio, Willow has also had some less than savory things to say about her mom. It turns out that Willow and her bro have been playing the opposite day game when it comes to their parental approval rating for eon. Over time, it's become pretty clear that they basically acted as their own lifeguards, with their folks clocking in hours whenever they could, but constantly away due to filming and whatever other obligations they had. And so, like so many other children of celebrities, they were practically raised by a rotating cast of nannies and assistants. So much so that by the time they hit their late teens, they were probably giving the nannies performance reviews. Both Willow and Jaden decided to bail on the Hollywood train their parents had set up for them and went off to create their own epic adventures. Willow by rocking it in the music scene, and Jaden by making ripples in the fashion world. But Willow's got her own mic to drop on this story. Just like her bro, she's thinking, "Mom, can you chill for a second?" It's not like they grew up in Fort Knox, but they still managed to keep a few secrets, unlike their mom, who gives a tell-all interview every time she sneezes. Willow and her brother have shouted from the mountaintops that they wish Jada would cut their dad some slack and keep the family shenanigans a little more low-key, but it really hasn't paid off so far, as you can tell. If it's not Tupac, who can't really call out Jada, the person not personally involved with the Smith family, who's been associated with them the most, is Chris Rock. You've probably heard by now that Jada and Will Smith have been doing the whole separation thing for a while, but here's a new twist in the plot. Before Chris Rock got his impromptu face massage at the Oscars courtesy of Will, he actually tried to ask Jada out. This happened in 2016, right when those separation rumors were all over the news everywhere. Picture this. Chris calls Jada and says, "Hey, I'd love to take you out." Jada, being the quick-witted queen she is, responds with a simple, "Why?" Chris, thinking he's onto something, reveals the truth bomb that he thought she and Will were on the verge of divorce. Turns out, that was news to Jada, and Chris was left in quite the awkward position. So either he thought he had insider info, or believed everything he read on the internet, which, coming from personal experience, I know you should never do. Jada shared this story, and Chris probably wasn't the biggest fan of the whole ordeal. Some folks even think this little oopsie-daisy might have been the spark that ignited the fiery Will Smith Oscars moment. So along with the physical slap, that seems like a mental one too. The world got a royal jolt when R&B singer August Alsina spilled the beans on one of the juiciest rumors in the Jada and Will saga, fessing up to having a 2015 affair with Jada. And you won't believe what he said next. In an interview that had more twists than an M. Night Shyamalan movie, he claimed he sat down with Will and got his blessing. Can you imagine that conversation? Will was left scratching his head, and Jada, ever the maestro of melodrama, spilled the rest of the tea on Red Table Talk. She whipped out her regret card and described her little rendezvous as an entanglement. Picture two Christmas lights all tangled up in a box. It's a festive metaphor for sure. Now, the world couldn't decide whether to be puzzled about her airing her dirty laundry online for the world to see, or concerned that she brought August into this. After all, he was just a fresh-faced 22-year-old struggling with an autoimmune condition, making constant hospital visits. Jada even threw in the fact that she was his mentor at the time. It's like she had an affair and gave him life advice on the side. Now, that is a true multitasker. After Jada told the world about her entanglement, it became quite the nuisance for a lot of people. For 50 Cent, it was like an annoying mosquito that just wouldn't leave him alone. Social media went into a frenzy, with users flocking to Instagram to share their 2 cents, including none other than 50 Cent himself. He decided to give his buddy Will a piece of his mind, asking why Jada chose to air her laundry on a global stage. He even went on to say, she only says she can give permission for someone to blow her back out. Is that like inflating a balloon with an air pump? Will's response? Let's just say it involved more colorful language than a Picasso painting. Fast forward to October 2021, and 50 Cent was still not the biggest fan of Jada's antics. He's not alone in this boat. It seems like a whole shitload of folks have a bone to pick with her. Jada seems to have a knack for picking the juiciest moments to stir the pot, and her book Revelations are no exception. If you've watched that interview where she spills the beans, you've probably noticed her skillful zoning out and faking her way through the conversation, all while probably having a secret maniacal laugh inside her head. 50 Cent understandably questioned why she decided to share her life story with the world, especially when it left her character in the hot seat. But just a reminder, this is Jada Pinkett Smith we're talking about. Gabrielle Union and Jada's red carpet encounters were like a series of comedic collisions, as their careers seemed to tangle up more than headphone wires in a pocket. You might recognize Gabrielle from Bring It On or Meet Dave, while Jada Smith made her memorable mark in Scream 2 and The Nutty Professor. But when they found themselves together, it wasn't the friendliest. Rumor has it that Jada didn't exchange a word with Gabrielle for a whopping 17 years, and she couldn't even recall why. Talk about long-term tension. Then a few years ago, Jada finally decided to extend an olive branch and clear the air. Their chat ended with a mutual epiphany that they were both divas back in the day, and they had diva-sized mentalities to match. Jada even had Gabrielle over to her red table talk. During the heartfelt chat, Jada spilled the tea, admitting that she was in a not so pleasant place back then, but has upgraded the old mental real estate since. Union later popped up on Today and shared the revelation that their insecurity was the real villain behind the rift. Now, isn't it funny how they were suddenly able to chat it out once there was a platform to record and release their conversation, make amends with a fellow celeb, and make some online moolah? It's a double win. That's the Hollywood way. Alyssa Griffin, co-host of The View, couldn't help but let her thoughts fly, and she's got a bone to pick with Jada Pinkett Smith. In a podcast episode of Behind the Table, Griffin went on a comedic rampage, expressing her admiration for the accomplished actress, while also scratching her head in confusion. She asked, why in the world would Jada put all her information out there for the world to see? I mean, some things are best kept hidden. With a puzzled expression, Griffin mused about Jada's lack of consideration for Will's feelings. It's like she's going on a solo journey through the world of oversharing. And let's not forget the estranged but undivorced status of 7 years of separation without the papers to show for it. Jada's been singing the no divorce anthem, but with the recent revelations, who knows? Will might be dusting off his lawyer's number as we speak. In the grand circus of Hollywood, it seems Jada's got a front row seat for the drama, and Alyssa Griffin is more than willing to share her popcorn and commentary. It's a showbiz showdown for the ages. When Tessa Thompson discussed her role in the unsuccessful Men in Black reboot, Men in Black International, she expressed admiration for Will Smith's contribution to the original film. She commended him for breaking barriers in Hollywood, allowing people of color to bring their authentic identities to studio films, and many other things. However, some other celebrities believe that Will Smith has not done nearly enough to support the acting community. Lena Waithe, who directed the thriller Queen and Slim in 2019, pointed out that Brad Pitt's production company funded critically acclaimed black-led films like 12 Years a Slave and Moonlight. She called out Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, noting that while they have their production company, they primarily use it to promote movies for Will. Waithe asserted that she would never be content making $20 million per movie without also financing at least 4 or 5 independent films. It's worth noting that Waithe faced significant backlash for her statements, with some fans accusing her of a gratuitous violence in Queen and Slim, and later in the Amazon series Them, which she also produced. Our last point goes out to you, loyal fans of Jada, the hype squad that never signed up for this drama-filled roller coaster. While it's true that not every single fan has joined the chorus, there's been a good old ton of them chiming in on this wild ride. It's like a virtual flash mob. Folks flock into social media, from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter, all shouting, "Jada girl, you need to hit the brakes." After years of love, devotion, and peeking through the curiosity keyhole, they're finally saying she's taken things a bit too far. In a world where even her co-stars and her own offspring are dishing out info, feels like we're on the verge of knowing her toothpaste preferences. Who needs a biography when you have Jada's social media feed? Fans, bless their hearts, are trying to wrangle this whirlwind of revelations like the MVPs of online sanity. Just goes to show the internet is indeed a bizarre place.